Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 15 of the Cash Flow Joe podcast presented by Pips Path. I'm Pip Stellick, joined by my business partner, Steve Hipple. Steve, how you doing today?
Hey, Pip.
What's up, buddy? Bradley, how you doing, my friend?
Fan-flippin-tastic.
That's Bradley Strack, and we've also got Sam Musa. Sam, how you doing, my friend?
Always.
Always, yes.
The
There we
Moose.
go. Our goal is to help beginning investors with their first transaction. And seasoned investors, we want to make sure we show you how to make more money and, more importantly, be able to do more deals with less of your own money. That's called leverage, and do it in a safe manner. Our company trains and mentors thousands of students all over the world to become successful real estate investors. For more information, visit our website, pipspath.com, where we have tons of resources for you to get started now, including your personal scorecard so you can get in touch with us, set up a one-on-one meeting, and we can get you started immediately. So today, what are we going to do? We're going to kind of change it up a little bit. We've been talking a lot about strategies. We've been talking a lot about credit, OPM, power team, how to build those things. What we want to do is we kind of explain some of the things that we see with students. And we're going to have Sam actually talk about his son on this episode. And so
I
he's...
have a son.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, we met him.
He rises every day.
Nice young fella. I must take after the mama.
He does, definitely. And so what we want to do is talk about some of our students and how they react when they have mentors in their life and having a mentor come out and work with them right in their area. We want to make sure when you do a mentorship, you know exactly what's happening and how you're going to build a long-term relationship, friendship with that mentor, I think is really what it comes down to. And I know that I got mentored years ago. I got trained in 2002. And when I got trained, I invested in having a mentor come out to Omaha, Nebraska to mentor my brother and I in our business. And so we were learning all kinds of stuff. And this is before live online training, because with live online training, you got to think about this. 2002, everything was dial-up internet. Bradley, you probably don't even remember dial-up internet. You were just a baby.
I think I had it in high school.
Yeah.
You know, the AOL, the weird sounds, the...
Exactly.
Back when you had a Hotmail account, I bet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, we even had a second phone line for that.
And so what happened is back in the day, you didn't have a live online training. Everything had to be done either generally in person or a pre-recorded kind of thing. And so what I did is I'd taken a bunch of classes. Actually, I'd only taken 2 classes. And then I had a mentor come out and work with me 2-on-1 in our market. And what I noticed is that was the kick in the assets that I needed to really change my business. And we bought 16 properties in 16 months using none of our own money and technically none of our own credit because we didn't have it. And so it was a exponential change in my business by having somebody hold my hand and walk me through those processes. So I'd like these guys to share some of their stories. And Steve, I know you did a mentorship recently with one of our students. His name is Matt, very analytical guy.
Mm-hmm. He was a little bit analytical.
A little bit analytical. He's an accountant, I think, by trade. Very good guy. Steve, share some of the experiences you had with Matt and all the things that you guys did when you were on that mentorship.
Mm-hmm. Matt. So he started off taking a class. He took a lease option class with us, and he took another class. I think it was creative financing. So he ended up taking a couple classes, and he'd been emailing back and forth some questions he had about, what do I do this? What do I do that? What do I do next? All these things, right? So very typical, very standard questions. And he was making offers on property. So he was doing the business, making offers. He was trying to get financing, so doing all the right things. And he had a property under contract. He walked away. And then he ended up getting some tenant buyers for a lease option rent-to-own program. And so he's working with these tenant buyers, going back and forth about how's the lease option work. He's explaining it to them. And of course, he's emailing us the whole time. He's sending us spreadsheets because he want to make sure the spreadsheets were done properly. And so, of course, we're helping him, answering all his questions. And we answer our student questions in 24 hours. So, yeah, I think for Matt, it was a huge benefit. When he had a question, he would email us. And with Matt, it wasn't just one question. It was 4 or 5, 6. And they were great questions, very detail-oriented. He just needed to keep moving forwards and take action because he had a good deal. And so we were answering his questions, and he was interviewing the tenant buyers and putting them in contact with the mortgage broker, all the right things. We were holding his hand every step of the way. And so he got stuck. And so what happened was this deal just wasn't moving forward anymore, and he had a lot of questions. So he ended up basically getting a mentorship. And he said, Steve, I want you to be my mentor. And I said, well, of course, I don't really mentor much anymore, but this was a few years ago. And I said, okay, and he actually lives, he's from he's from East Lansing, Michigan. It's not too far from me. I could drive there, no problem. He wanted me as a mentor. So I said, sure, of course. So now that just really intensified the level. Now we're doing phone calls, and I guess in today's world will be Zoom calls. I'm looking at his personal finances, and can he obtain finance? Can he get mortgages? Can he not get mortgages? Does he need a joint venture partner? It's a much more in-depth, deep dive into his situation, how we can do this deal. So of course, with that, we're talking, we're going to do one deal, why not do another deal or more deals? Let's talk about creative financing. So we did a much more in-depth, training at that point because we were working one-on-one. So with these tenant buyers for his rent-to-own deal, it was looking good. The deal was taking shape. His tenant buyers were high-quality tenants. And if you know anything about tenant buyers or rent-to-own, and we talk about that a lot on our podcast. Of course, we have a lease option or rent-to-own class. I did my first lease option in 2010, and I've been doing them ever since. There's a fantastic strategy, very win-win strategies for our tenants, win-win strategies for the investors. And the investors, we have security. So we've actually got some security, some skin in the game from our tenant buyers. That's why Matt really liked the appeal to this, and he liked the number side. Lease options are very high cash flow and a lot of security from our tenants. When I say a lot of security, Matt definitely took that to the next level. Matt took that to the next level because the tenant buyers, they were looking at a property. It was in around, what was that property? About $250,000, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think that's what you told me, and the amount of money that somebody had down on it was significant. I just remember like 250, 260. In Grand Rapids, that's probably about the right number for me.
It's a great investment property, so nothing fancy, but that's a property the tenant buyers picked that home, picked that price range. This home was for sale, so Matt had a realtor go look at the home. Matt was having a realtor drop the contract to buy the property. So it was for sale in a great rental area, investment area for Matt. So $250,000 or $260,000 property. When I say you can have good security by a lease option, Matt's tenant buyers. Now, if somebody had $20,000 as security in this deal, I'd say, well, that's a pretty good deal. If somebody had $30,000, I'd say, well, that's good security as an investor. I feel very confident. If somebody had $40,000, well, guess what? The deal is better and better, more security for the investor. Matt's tenant buyers had $50,000 for non-refundable option consideration. We'll just call that security for Matt, the investor. So buying a property for $250,000 and getting $50,000 from your tenant buyers as security, that's a good start of a good deal. On top of that, the tenant buyers had good jobs, stable incomes. They truly want to be homeowners, and they love that property. They wanted to buy it. So for Matt, this is a good deal, good numbers all the way through. So on the mentorship, of course, we've been emailing back and forth. We had some phone calls, him and I was helping him, make sure this deal stays on track. And so during the mentorship, it's pretty cool. I showed up there. I drove to East Lansing, and we met on day one. I think it was actually a Tuesday we met. And so he says, I have to go to the bank. And I said, well, sure, we can go wherever you want. And so as a mentor, as I said, I've been in a lot of contact with Matt one-on-one before the mentorship. I got there on Tuesday morning. We got started. As a mentorship, we did a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Matt had me all day, 3 days in a row, plus before, plus follow-up afterwards, of course, too. So we made sure he was in good shape by the time I left there. But of course, he had contact information. As his mentor, he can call me, email me, text me. We have a good relationship. So, but on Tuesday, he says, I have to go to the bank. I said, okay, no problem. Well, what are you doing at the bank? Because I kind of know a bit about his finances. What's he doing? I said, well, I've got a check for my lease option. I've got the non-refundable option consideration check. I need to deposit that today. I said, cool. I said, how much check for? It's $50,000. So, of course, we made a social media moment. Now, Matt was not the kind of guy back then to use social media. I think he said he had a lot of pictures with him and some fish and some hunting pictures, like him holding the fish. He was one of those guys. He said that's all he ever did. So as this mentor, I said, well, Matt, today you're going on social media. You're going to show everybody. We didn't put the amount of money in the check, but I actually made a social media post for him with the picture outside the bank and with a smile and Matt closing on a real estate deal. and he's got a check. He's getting paid today, depositing this check. So what do you guys think that did for Matt, putting something like that on social media? He's an accountant. He really didn't tell a lot of people he's doing social media, but did that bring him some credibility? Did that let his friends and family know he's doing something different and getting paid? So that little social media post, but he would never done that on his own. As his mentor, I knew he needed to do that. As a mentor, I know I've got to take my mentees, take my students and push them outside their comfort zone. Like not way outside their comfort zone. I got to push them outside my comfort zone. Pip was my mentor 13 years ago, and he pushed me outside my comfort zone. I look back in those things 13 years ago that used to make me uncomfortable. And I say, oh, wow, I do that stuff all the time now, making offers, calling sellers, going to talk to mortgage brokers. 13 years ago, I was nervous to do these things. Now I'm not nervous. We do those things all the time. But now I get to show other people how to have those same conversations because you level up, you go to the next level. So very cool story with Matt. I think we were just talking about success stories of some of our students. And we've got lots of students with Pip's Path, and we've got trainers, independent contractors, students, people we met 2 years ago, a year ago. Everybody's on their journey. And so many students, I think, they want to get a deal done in the first month, 2 months, 3 months. Sometimes you get emails from students, hey, I'm frustrated. It's been 2 months. I haven't done a deal yet. Well, hang in there, because we always say it's going to take you 6 to 12 months to get educated. If you do a deal or two in the first year, you're a rock star. Because if you do a deal in the first year, can you do 1 or 2 in the second year? Because once you learn, you go faster, faster, faster. So it's not a race. Real estate is not get rich quick. I never promised Matt you'll do a deal in the first month or two. He was a number of months, but he got a deal. He got a good deal. I've said this podcast before. For me, my first deal was after 10 months. By the time I started taking classes, had the mentorship, my first deal was in 10 months, but it was a good deal. And the second deal came fast. Third, fourth, they started coming after that because they had the skills, they had the knowledge. So another great story. I'll share one more if I can, if I got time here. There's lots of stories of mentorships and students I've helped. And this one lady, her name's Veronica, and she's a financial planner. And I met Veronica, and I was her mentor back, and I say it was 2017, 2018. I know 2017. And she picked me as her mentor, and she'd taken some classes, and she was struggling to find the deals. She was struggling to find the cash flow, and she was, of course, struggling to find the money to do the deals with. And so I said, no problem. I'll be your mentor. So it was her and her business partner at the time. But Veronica and I really connected. Like, she had good business sense. She had a drive. She wanted to do it. Not a lot of chatter. She just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. So great student, right? She just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And she did. So I spent 3 days with Veronica, and she's in the Hamilton area with her business partner. And we talked about lease options, and she said she wanted to flip properties. And we started talking about your why. I said, well, Veronica, why do you want to do the business? As a financial planner, she has a good client list. She was making money. She's been a financial planner for 15 or 20 years. She had a good business. She was doing well. She's also a single mom. And she had 2 daughters that needed to go to college. 2 daughters had some university expenses coming up. So she knew she'd have some bills to pay, and she may have some difficulty doing that by herself. So she thought if she can make some money through real estate, she'd have some extra money for her daughters to go to school. So we spent 3 days in her market, and we talked to mortgage brokers. We talked to realtors. We talked to other investors. We made offers on property. We made a lot of offers on properties. We talked a lot about flipping. We went and saw properties for potential flips. We made offers. So day 1, day 2, day 3, I'm working with her face-to-face in her market, building her a team, helping her save time, help her be more effective and take her game to the next level. Day 3, I go back home, right? Hamilton's not far from where I live, 3-hour drive. I go back home. I got some emails from Veronica here and there, every couple of months get an email from her, but I didn't hear a lot. Some students have a lot of questions. Some students have a few questions. From Veronica, I had a few questions, but they were getting a property under contract, this and that, just some quick questions. Great. Fast forward, probably 3 years later, I'm at a networking event in Toronto, and that's not far from where she lives and where she wanted to invest. So she comes up, this lady taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around, it's Veronica, and she's, hey, Steve, do you remember me? Like, of course, Veronica, of course I remember you. We spent some time in your market. I said, well, how are you? How are things? How's your investing? How's everything going? And she said, well, I'm good. I'm still working my financial job and a financial advisor job. I said, well, that's great. It's you've always done. You're good at it. Good for you. And I said, well, how about the investing? Where did that go? And I know I got some emails from you, but I really haven't heard much. And she says, well, yeah, I'm doing some deals. I've done some flips. I bought some buy and hold properties. And she's, well, I'm only doing 3, maybe 4 deals a year, and I'm still working in my job. I said, so wait, you're doing 3 or 4 deals a year for the past 2 or 3 years? She says, yeah. But she's talking like that's not very good. She's talking like it's not enough. And I said, Veronica, that's spectacular. That's fantastic, because you had gone from doing 0 deals. We spent some time together. You had some training, some coaching, and now you're doing 2, 3, 4 deals a year. And she's, yeah, I'm taking the money, the profit from those deals, I'm lending it on other people's deals. So I'm making some money in a passive way. I'm getting the earned income from doing my own deals, whether a flip or a lease option. I'm taking the profits and lending them. He said, oh, and I put my daughters into school as well, too. I said, Ron, that is spectacular. And so that's such a huge rush for a mentor to know you take somebody and elevate their game, give them the confidence they need, help them build a team, help them get the skills they need. So that was a great moment for me, one of my favorite moments, but also for her, because it helped her realize you're a successful financial advisor, and now you have a plan B as a real estate investor. You're making money, whether 2, 3, or 4 deals a year, and you're taking those profits and lending them. You're using the house's money. You're getting infinite returns because you're taking that money and lending it, and you're putting your daughters through school on this new wealth. What she did, she generated wealth. She created money out of thin air. She learned a skill, she applied what she learned, and now she's making money over and over and over. So from a mentor standpoint, I was proud. I was a proud papa, and I didn't realize she'd been doing all this because she hadn't emailed me. She hadn't asked me many questions lately. So as a mentor, I will answer your questions. Even for her, the first student I mentored was back in 2015 in Detroit, Michigan. If Chris in Detroit, Michigan from 2015 has a question today, I haven't changed my email address. He can email me. I can answer that question and all the way through. Whether somebody, a student of ours from last week or from many, many years ago, we continue to answer your questions. So just a couple great mentor, students experiences there. There's plenty more, of course, but I think we're a little bit limited here. So I'll pass it over to who's next.
Well, I don't think we're ever limited, because we can just do another podcast and we'll just keep doing more and more and more. So Bradley, give us some stories or some experiences you've seen with some of the students that you've mentored over the years.
Well, I will, and I think one of the cool things about mentorship is the fact that, and I'm of course the newest investor on this group of, well, much more experienced partners that I have, but even in the few years that I've done this, the people that I've helped and the mentors that have helped me, what I realized was mentors just kind of collapse the time frame. Mentors kind of lend you their experience, lend you their credibility so that you can catch up to that very quickly. And as a guy who did a lot of short-term rentals, talk about taking the things the hard way. As I got started out, there weren't any classes on short-term rentals or trainings on it. I was kind of figuring things out as I went a little bit with my wife as we started to use that strategy. But then as I met other students, so my wife and I had successful short-term rental business. We had accumulated a number of properties. We were starting to manage those properties, creating a management company for short-term rentals. And I came across 2 students, and these 2 students now actually, they teach the short-term rental for us here at Pips Path. And these 2 guys I met when they were they were movie producers. Movie director and a movie producer is what these guys did for their jobs, their 9 to 5, if you will. And even in that industry where they can have times where they're making great money, there's also times where you're waiting for the next project, or the project you thought was going to go well all of a sudden isn't getting picked up. So these 2 guys saw real estate as a way to add some streams of income to what they were doing. Even though they loved it, they wanted some extra security in their lives. So real estate was that vehicle. And both Joe and Brent, who now teach the short-term rental class for us, these guys basically took a lot of the framework that I had. So those systems, those things that my wife and I had figured out through trial and error, and many times those guys were able to take those things and in a few hours of talking, be able to not make any of those mistakes. And I look back and I go, man, it took my wife and I 2-3 years to figure out some of these 1 quick two little minute points that change our business exponentially. And now Joe and Brent coming in as new investors a few years after me, they can just walk down that blazed trail and know exactly what to do. And the coolest part when you mentor somebody, in my opinion, is the fact that then you get to see them take what you knew and they get to kind of run with it. And I know that I've only ever done short-term rentals here in the United States. But Joe Lamb, he's got family back in Southeast Asia. Well, he's taken the principles from here and he's running short-term rentals in a whole nother continent across the world. And Brent Trotter, the other trainer for us, he's a guy who also an analytical individual. So he had a lot of those what-if questions, but the guy now just recently opened up an Airbnb hotel. So he and some partners found an old hotel that was being sold off. I want to say it was 21 units. And so they're going to buy that building and they're going to operate it as their own kind of boutique hotel and just run everything through Airbnb, short-term rental type websites. But that's taking some information and the context of what my wife and I had figured out through trial and error and just blowing it up. And I think one of the cool parts about mentoring students is you don't get to see them just grow and excel, but you see them take it to whole new levels. And that's what we really have seen with Joe and Brent. That's why the guys teach for us, is they've taken some of the things that they were given from their mentor, in this case myself, around Airbnbs and short-term rentals, and they really run with it and make it even better. So pretty cool experience.
That's awesome. And that's what's really cool is when you mentor other students and then they become mentors to other people, and it's just about paying it forward. That's an awesome concept. Sam, talk a little bit about what I guess you talk about whatever you want to talk about. I just know that there's some cool stories that you have.
Yeah, I think for me the most important mentoring that's happening in my life is mentoring my son, who's I've been talking about money ever since I was introduced by you in 2009. I've been talking to my son about money. So being a mentor to him, giving him the insight that I struggled with for 33 years, trying to understand money, giving that opportunity to him to better understand it, to as an example, not being afraid of credit cards. Isaiah's got 3 credit cards now. And I told him, exactly what I was taught: 2 a year. Every 6 months, you could increase the limits, be responsible with it, manage it properly, and keep building your credit. And that's what I've given to him. And he's 19 years old now. He's only been doing it since he's been 18, getting credit cards, and having him and knowing that he's not afraid of credit cards, that he understands what they are and using them properly, I think to me is the greatest gift I've given to my son. Understanding money and how money works, because it's something we deal with every single day, has made me feel like I can't explain the reward that I get out of doing that, and feeling how valuable it is what you've taught me and what I've been taught and what I've studied about money, and being able to pass it on to him. So mentoring my son has been the greatest, and I continue to do that, and I hope he allows me to continue to do that into his adult life, hoping that he will pass that on to his sons and daughters, and their sons and daughters and their sons and daughters. I feel like when I'm talking to Isaiah, I'm talking to his sons and daughters and their sons and daughters, changing a legacy by educating them about money and how it works. So mentoring to me is absolutely the best thing you can do. If there's something you don't know or don't understand, find somebody. We talked about this. Stop asking how and start asking who can help me make this happen, who can help me build wealth. And I'm basically taking what you gave me and passing it forward.
Share your story with Isaiah about buying the asset before you get the liability, because that's mentoring at a very deep level.
Yeah, so my son was 15 at the time. Me and my son like to take walks around our neighborhood. We just talk about whatever. One day we were walking, and I asked my son, I said, Isaiah, you're 15 now, coming on 16. You're probably going to want to get your license and get a car. And he said, yeah, I think so. And I said, son, how are you going to buy that car? how are you going to buy that car? And he thought for a moment, and he said, I think what I'm going to do is get a part-time job, Dad, and I'll save some money and, put it down on a car and I'll buy a car. And I said, you know what? That's great. A lot of people would agree with that plan to do that. That sounds like it makes sense. But let me give you another option. And I think this is key to teach our children that there's more than one way to do things. There's more than one way to achieve and acquire things that we want in our life. So I said, Isaiah, why don't you get that part-time job and save that money, put that money together, and then instead of us taking that money and putting it down on a car, why don't we put it down on a property? And this would be an investment property, and this property is going to produce cash flow. And what we can do is with this property, the cash flow is going to make that car payment. So every month that we get that cash flow, it's going to actually allow us to purchase the vehicle and make the car payment through the house. And what's really awesome, son, is after the car's paid off, because eventually it'll be paid off, you get to keep the house and you get to keep the cash flow. So of course he was excited, and his eyes kind of got big, and he realized there was another way. And seeing his eyes open and seeing him realize that there was more than what he thought he could do was amazing. And I asked him, I said, what do we call that? What do we call that house, son? And he said, I don't know, Dad, what do we call it? I said, that's called the car house. That's the house that pays for the car. I said, son, if you want a vacation, you want to travel? He said, yeah. I said, then you need to get yourself a vacation house. That's the house that pays for the vacation every year. And I said, son, if you want a boat, what do you need? Boathouse. He got it. So it was great to see him shift and him realizing. And I told him, I said, son, you can have anything you want in this world as long as you get the asset before the liability. As long as you get the asset before the liability. I think we put a lot of pressure. People put a lot of pressure on their job to cover all the liabilities that they want, and their incomes don't keep up, and you can easily find out that there's more month than money, and it's unfortunate that people are not being taught how to build wealth. And the key again is get an asset before the liability. Find something you want. If you want it, great. Let's find an asset like a real estate property to produce the cash flow to make the payment, or flip a house to be able to take that capital to purchase this new liability. Liabilities cost you something. You need to find the money somewhere else other than just your job, putting that pressure on your job. So again, mentoring my son and having the opportunity to share the lessons that I've been taught with him has made me feel like I'm, is it fathering my son? Is that, I don't know what it is, being a father to my son. We need to be better for our children. I know many of you listening have children, or you want children in the future. If we do not teach them about money, if we do not find and learn about how to deal with money, this thing we deal with every day, we're going to thrust upon our ignorance onto our children, and of course they're going to likely to send that generation to generation. Money, again, I can't say this enough, huge lesson for me. Money won't solve your money problems, but understanding money will. So it's not about money or having the money. It's what do I do with the money? There's unbelievably amounts. I can't even, there's so much money available. And to see people afraid, and I was this person, afraid of money, how to use it, what do I do with it? How do I grow it? Having the ability to access money, which most of you, maybe you don't know, but do have, will give you the ability to accelerate, build your wealth, and change the legacy of you and your family.
Sam, what I want to do on this episode, and I don't think it'll take too long for you to do this, tell people why you didn't like money. Because, I mean, that's, you talk a lot about money, but there was a point in time where you hated money.
Yeah.
And there was a direct connection for that. Tell people why you did that.
Yeah.
That'd be a great quick story to end this podcast with.
So real quick, my money problems started, as I say, when I was 7. I remember being 7 years old. I was playing, and this was my first introduction to money. I remember having a thought of where's my mom? I'm 7 years old, right? I get up, I look around, I can't find her. So I'm looking through all the house, and I can't find my mother, but I did find my oldest sister, who was 14 at the time. And I asked her where mom was. Where's mom? And she said, she's at work. And I said, why? I'm 7, right? I don't understand this stuff. Why is she at work? Because she needs to make money. And I said, why? She needs to make money to take care of us, to take care of you. And I in that moment, I had an immediate guilt associated with money, because that's why my mother wasn't there. She had to go out and make money. And it created a moment where, for the first time, I was only 7, but it was the first time in my life where I actually felt poor. And it was weird for me, because 5 minutes before, I had no idea about feeling poor or feeling rich. I was just a kid, 7. All of a sudden, I felt poor. So that created a deep... I don't know how to say, groove in my psyche about money that created many struggles about trying to build wealth as I grew older, and it made me hate money. I hated my mother's boss. I had never met him. I'm 7, of course, right? But I hated her boss. I didn't even know who he was, but I hated him because he was taking my mother away. So I think that these things, the way we manage money in our adult life, is very much rooted in how we were raised or the experiences we had. My experience was a negative one. I didn't have anybody explaining to me how money works or what it was about. So I started with the relationship of money, that money was bad, and it made it very difficult for me to try to build wealth when I thought having wealth was bad or money was bad. How do you build wealth if you don't believe that you should be wealthy, that people should be wealthy? It blows my mind that I used to believe that you could have too much money. And that to me is just insane. But this was, again, me trying to understand the world around me and what was going on. And if you don't have that guidance, going back to Isaiah, it's so important to have somebody being there to explain as you develop your relationship with money, having someone explain how it works. And I think most of us are being led. It's the blind leading the blind, right? So, for the longest time, I hated money, and it created many hardships in my life that were self-imposed. So I don't want to thrust that ignorance upon Isaiah. So I'm very blessed to be able to be where I am and understand money as I do now.
That's awesome. And what's cool about that is that we can mentor at so many different levels. I'm probably not going to talk about specific mentor stories. Heck, these 3 yahoos that are by me here, they're all students of mine that I've mentored at different times in different ways. And I'm thinking what we're going to be doing with future podcasts is we'll bring on some of our students that I've mentored, and we can do those stories individually with the actual student that will be here answering those questions and talking about their experience and really how mentoring changed their life. And many of them have gone on to become mentors themselves. And that's really what's cool. And so obviously at The Path, our whole motto is you bring the effort, we bring the support. We have all kinds of different mentoring type programs so that we can make sure we get you from where you're at to where you want to be. I know a lot of people are thinking, why do you guys do this? Well, we do it because we love it. We make money. Our company, Pip's Path, is a money-making company. And so don't think we don't make money when we teach people. But you heard Steve say at the very beginning, it's very rewarding to see a student that you haven't seen in a while, and all of a sudden they're doing this deal or they're doing that deal. I literally, when Steve was talking, and I tapped Bradley on the shoulder here, Steve was going through his story with Matt, and I looked at my phone and pulled up Instagram, and I'm not an Instagram guy, but I pulled up Instagram, and the first story that comes up in the feed is a story, a student of mine from Calgary 10 years ago. I haven't seen this guy in forever, and he's talking about this fourplex that he just remodeled and the money he's making on it. And I tapped Bradley and I said, this is actually one of my students. And he just about walked out of the room without getting trained properly. And I'll never forget, we'd done a 3-day training, and we were done for the weekend. And one of my buddies and I, and these guys all know this guy named Baz, and we'll probably have Baz on one of our shows in the future as well. We got to have Baz. And so we had, Baz and I were eating dinner at the restaurant. It's like 7:30 at night. We had closed the event down 2 hours earlier, whatever it was. And Baz and I are sitting at the restaurant, and this kid comes walking, and he was a kid, mid-20s at best. And when you're 45 years old like I was at the time. That is a kid. And he comes in, he's early 20s, maybe mid 20s. His name's Alan. And he says, guys, I went home and he said, I just was kicking myself. I know I need to get trained, and more important, I need mentors in my life. And the sad part about it is so many people have been taught just the opposite. Go out and work hard, do it yourself. That's what our parents teach us. That's what the school system teaches us. And that's the sad part. It teaches us that when you go take a test, you don't want to talk to anybody because that they consider that cheating. Well, guess what happens in the real world? It's called collaboration. And so when we have problems, we have people that we can call upon, that we can reach out to, we can reach up to is probably the better way to say it, to help us get from where we're at to where we want to be. So I can give you all kinds of students out there, and that's why I love doing what I'm doing. I found out a long time ago that I like teaching people. I like mentoring people. I like helping people. And when you like something, you want to keep doing it more. And if you can make money and create a business that affects others, that's a huge win for me and all the people around us at Pips Path. And so we really enjoy what we get to do. We still do property. We're still going to keep doing more property. The key is I always want to be teaching as well, because I think that's what I was put on this earth for. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's show, because to me, this is what it's all about, is showing those successes and helping people get from where they're at to where they want to be. So on our next episode, we are going to talk about what I think might be a big growth strategy. Is it going to be as big as 2008? Probably not, but it's definitely going to be a growth strategy, and that's foreclosures. Lots of stuff going on in the world today where I think we're going to see some more foreclosures happening. We'll talk about how the foreclosure process works, how it works, and how we can help people before they go into foreclosure, which is called pre-foreclosure. Why would we want to help somebody before they go into foreclosure? We can help them save some of their pride. We may be able to help them save the house. We may be able to help them save some money. And most importantly, we can help them get from where they're at to where they want to be. It's always about helping people. But before we get out of here, I just want to say again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you like to use. For more investing information from us, go to our website, pipspath.com. Follow us on social media. It's PipsPath, the Property and Cashflow Joe podcast on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on the talk. I think I'm just going to call it on the talk from now on.
You're so hip.
I am so hip. That's why they call me Hip Pip. But there we go. Here we go. Leave us a comment, give us a follow, and we will see you on the path.